Hi everyone, I am back with part 2 of our little folio pocket journal. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're ready for part 2. So where we left off, get this out of the way, was we had put some shoe polish on our Pepsi box, on our cardboard here. And I've gone ahead and given it a second coat just so it'd be a little bit darker. And it does look very kind of blah right now, but it will look a lot better after we put a coat of Mod Podge over the top, because that's what I did with this one. It kind of, it's not slick because it's a matte finish Mod Podge, but it does kind of, I don't know, shines it up a little bit, so to speak. So what we want to do now is we want to angle the corners, or I do on mine. Hang on, we're going crooked here. There we go. I liked the corners angled on mine, or rounded on mine, so that's what we're going to do now. So let's see. I want this to be the front flap. And blue, of course, is going to give us the background snoring that we always get. Maybe I can get my daughter to come in here and get him. Or we'll just let him sit down there and snore. Okay, so I'm just using my other one as a template, but what I did the first time around is I just found something that was rounded. It was probably my glue bottle, because I do use glue bottles a lot. Well, probably wasn't that one. It was something a little bigger than a cup. Anything that's round, you can use as just a little template for drawing your rounded corners. I want it to have a lot more roundness than a corner punch will do. So, and now I am just cutting the corners. Okay. All right. That works, I think. Okay, and then the next thing I'm wanting to do now is I'm going to put fabric on the inside like I did on this one, but I don't have any more of this fabric, so I picked out this one out of my stash, but because it's kind of a white base, or an off-white base, the Pepsi box shows through, and I don't really want that to show through. So I think what I'm going to do is give it just a real quick coat of some white craft paint over the top. I'm not going to make it, you know, super thick, super heavy. I'm just going to try to knock some of the color out of it. Hopefully I don't get that on the back side. Just want to be careful not to let that slide into where I've got the paint around here, or I'm going to end up with paint on my good side. Oops. We are falling. Catastrophes. I'm just going to take that paper out of here. I think I can keep it off the table. There. And pick up a little bit of that paint and stick it over here. And I think that will be good enough. It's just enough just to knock some of the color off a little bit so it doesn't show through. Or it doesn't show through quite as much. Okay, and then we are going to let that dry. And so while we are waiting for that to dry before we can put our fabric on, we can get our papers together. And so I told you in the last video to go ahead and start thinking about your papers that you wanted to put in your little journal signature. So hopefully you've got those rounded up. I'm going to go grab mine and I will be right back. I have picked out some papers and I will give you the measurements of what I used. Now you can, you know, tweak these measurements to fit whatever cardboard you're using to make your little folio. I'm going to grab a piece of paper here. I went with the same as my original one. So my cover, before I folded it, is 8 inches tall. Okay, 8 inches that way, and then it is 8 3/4 this way, and then I folded it in half and I rounded the corners and I inked it up. Okay, so that's all I did with the cover, and I just used some cardstock out of a Holtz paper pad, and then I'm going to put some tape on it to reinforce it in a little bit. But my cover size was 8 inches by 8 3/4, folded in half, and I rounded the corners. You don't have to do that. I just think it makes it easier to get it in and out of the pocket. My pages were 7.5 inches tall. Okay, and they are 8 1/4. Well, my full-size pages are 8 1/4 wide. Okay, so that's for my full-size pages. Now, I do have pages in here of different sizes. Some are smaller than that. Some are tiny. I even have a little glassine bag in there, wax paper bag in there. So there's a book page there that doesn't meet the width that I've said there, but for a full-size page to fit that cover, I chose 7.5 by 8 1/4. Okay, so that's my papers, and I am going to do a simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which I will go ahead and do on camera, but I know most of you know how to do that. And I like to I use upholstery thread just because it's really easy for me to get. Otherwise I would have to order waxed linen thread, and this is just easier for me. So I usually do 1, 2, 3 times the length times 2. So I double it. I know we all have our method. I'm just showing you mine. Okay. Then I thread my needle, which I don't have my glasses on, so I am going to have to back that up. All right. And then I just take some wax, just a chunk of beeswax I have, and I run my thread through the wax. That kind of helps keep your strings from getting tangled, but it also helps secure your knot because it's sticky. But I do sometimes, oops, sorry, bumped the camera. I do sometimes put a little dot of glue on my strings, and I have done that here in this one. Okay, so my pages are all ready. I can round the corners on some of them later if I want to. And normally you would want to, you know, use something to hold your signature secure when you're punching holes, but I'm not holding that much. So I'm just going to do it by hand, and I'm just using my little Holtz puncher thingy here. You don't have to have anything fancy like that. In fact, let me show you what I normally used before I bought this. This is a block of wood cut in half, okay, and this is an upholstery pen or a drapery pen in here, and then my husband glued them together and wrapped sports tape around it, and it's nice and big and chunky for for my hand, because sometimes my hands hurt me a lot. So this actually works really great. And when I'm doing big signatures or a lot of them, I do use that. Yeah, just punch a little hole there and punch a hole. Oh, let's go there. See? Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go in through the center. Okay, and I know I've showed you this loads of times before. There's always someone new watching. I like to tie a paper clip just one time, one single knot. I tie a great big old paper clip to the end of my strings. I leave myself some tails, okay? And then that way, when I'm sewing my signatures, I don't pull my threads through. Okay, and then it's real easy to get it off later when I'm done. So one less thing I have to worry about. And a good thing to do is pin your signatures together with a bulldog clip or one of those paper clips, because like I just dropped my signature there and now I'm going to have to weave back through all my holes, and if I'd clipped it when I began, I wouldn't have that problem, but it happens. It happens to all of us. Patience is the key. So I'm just putting my needles through each page individually, through each hole individually, because I dropped them. Usually if I'm doing, you know, a large book that has lots of signatures, I will go ahead and clip all the pages together so that I don't drop them like this, because it is a pain. Okay, but patience is the key. So I'm going to go jamming the needle around in there. All right, back through the center hole. Maybe. There we go. You want to be careful not to go through your threads. It makes it hard to tighten things up. Then through the outside of the bottom hole. And through your signatures. Boy, they are really wiggling around on me. I should have clipped them, and I apologize for that, but it's okay. We're just hanging out today, not doing much. My daughter's packing, getting ready to go to Florida for a week to see my parents. Oops. And they've already come home for the summer, but they went back down just to go. They have a place down there, so daughter's home from college for the summer, and she's missed out on a lot of trips and stuff from, you know, having to be at school all the time. So she's just going to fly down and see him. It's only a 2-hour flight down there from Indianapolis, so might as well. And the flight was dirt cheap through Allegiant. I think she's flying there and back with a checked bag for less than $150 total. So can't beat that. I definitely can't drive down there for that. All right, I am riding the struggle bus today. And you are along for the ride. Almost got it. Almost got it. Hang in there. It will be worth it in the end. Next time, do as I say and not as I do, and go ahead and just paper clip those signatures together. That way, if you drop them, you don't have issues like I do. All right. Sheesh. All right. pull that nice and tight. We can take the paper clip off now. Just pull. All right. And I'm going to take this thread here with my needle on it, and I'm going to put it under here. And that gives me some leverage to pull things nice and tight, and I'm just going to tie a knot. Okay. One time. 2 times, and I might just go ahead and run it under one of my strings again and tie it again. Okay. Clip those off. Put my needle back in the box so it doesn't end up on the floor. I am going to put a little dot of glue, just a teeny dot. There we go. Right there on my knot, just in case. Okay, and then now my strings are showing, and that's perfectly fine, but I am going to cover the fold here on the spine, and I'm going to cover these threads, and really that's mostly just to secure the fold, because too many times of opening and closing, you don't want the paper fold to give up and tear on you. So this is some Tim Holtz fabric tape that Lisa sent to me, and it is super cool. It's really heavy duty, and it's great for doing things like this with it, and it's just got a neat pattern on it. She sent me 2 different ones, and it feels really sticky. I mean, it feels way stickier than washi tape, but I am going to go ahead and glue it down so that it stays permanently, just in case. Blue booger, get off of there. Come on, there we go. So I haven't pulled that down or pushed it down or rubbed it down really tight yet, but I have a feeling if once you do, it's going to stay, but I don't want to take any chances. I didn't use a ton of glue because I don't want it seeping through my fabric tape there. Okay, so then that's our little journal signature done. Okay, and we'll put that in our little folio once we have it finished. And I didn't decorate it because the whole point is that in our folio we will tuck all the things in that we want to use to journal with. So there's no need to embellish it now. So I'm just going to set this off to the side and bring this back over. So here's my cardboard. I got a little white paint on it here or there, but that's okay. I'll either touch it back up with some shoe polish again or some brown ink, but it'd be fine. Good enough. Okay, so now we're ready to put the fabric on. And what I am going to do is I'm going to glue lightly my fabric down, and I'm leaving it oversized. I don't want to cut it exact yet, because I don't want to have to be that careful when I'm stitching. So I am going to cut it oversized a little bit. Just a little bit. And the little bits that I'll cut off later after I've stitched it, I don't throw those away. I throw them in my snippet box, and I use them for making snippet rolls or embellishments. So you don't trash them. Okay, so that's going to be my fabric. So I'm going to flip it back over, And I am going to paint a little bit of glue on it just to hold it. I don't know if I want to use that glue. I think I'll just use some good old Elmer school glue. It paints on rather easily. And I'm just giving a real thin coat, and this is just enough to kind of hold it still while I'm sewing. Okay, and I'm doing it real light because I don't really want it soaking through my fabric. It's just going to help me keep everything together. And I'm just using a paintbrush so that it's not gloppy. And I'm not hitting every square inch here. A little bit more. Like I could have ironed that before I started. But typically, wrinkles work out once you glue it down anyway. And I think there'll be a pocket there, so it won't matter. Okay. That should keep it from running around on me while I'm sewing it. And then don't worry that it's not laying flat. That's fine. We're not worried about that yet. Okay. We'll end up putting something heavy over the top, and we still have to put Mod Podge on here, and that's going to make it curl the other way probably, so it'll be fine.